All right. Hello, everybody. I hope you guys are all doing well. So, I'm super excited to walk with you through this topic of parasites because I know it's not something that many people talk about. And I know it can be a little bit invasive, a little bit more challenging to kind of like hear this information. But what I want you to really take away from this topic is that if you're not able to find your root cause for whatever reason, you might, or you're not getting those symptom relief that you are trying to feel for whatever reason, I would encourage you to try a different avenue. See if there's parasites within your body, because today we're going to talk a lot about parasites. We're going to talk about how common they actually are and how they could be stealing your nutrients and to create different imbalances in the body. So let's go ahead and let's jump in together with this. So today we're going to talk about how common parasites actually are. I want to teach you the nutrient absorption process as well. I want to teach you about how parasites actually affect that nutrient absorption process. I want to talk to you about the symptoms of parasite infections. And I also want you to be able to understand how to know if you do have parasites and, some things that you want to do to get rid of them. So, how common are parasites? So, they are actually a lot more common than we think. A lot of times we think like, oh, we lived in this like developed world. We're not in a third world type of country. Like they can't be super common. About 80% of the population, developed population, United States, are walking around with parasites and they just have no idea. And oftentimes our immune system can really shut it down. But sometimes when we are having a lot of stress or through the years, maybe our proverbial rain barrel is being overfilled. And if you think about a rain barrel, with every little drop of water that comes in, that's one more layer that is, staying on top of the body. And then it causes external stress and things like that too. So when that brain barrel is overflowing, it allows for things like parasites to really thrive in our body and things like that. So they can be commonly found through water, through food. Particularly, you want to think of like ham and more of those processed types of foods, fish that might be undercooked. They could be vector borne. So if you have Lyme disease, things like that, those are the types of things that you want to just be mindful of. It could be due to travel. Sometimes when people go out of the country and they drink the water of a less developed nation, sometimes they come back with some icky bugs in their belly, or they can be passed from person to person. The thing that is not on here is even like from pets. So if allow your dog to like lick your face, like these are just like some very good information and tips and places that you may get a parasite from. And the thing is, once they are in your body, and if your immune system is not, strong enough to kill it, they're going to multiply and things like that too. So it's really best if we can kind of remove them. So, kind of along those same lines, parasites harbor a lot of toxins and other infections. So they are able to hold on to heavy metals, lime, mold, yeast, different bacterias. And what that does and what that can do is it can disrupt your microbiome and create a lot of inflammation, and it can cause a lot of gut discomfort. It can create brain fog for a lot of people. It can create skin issues, and it can disrupt your immune system because essentially now your immune system is trying to fight really hard and it's not able to get rid of the parasite. Because something that's really important to note here is that parasites like to form a biofilm around them. So it makes it really hard for our immune cells to kind of penetrate and kill the parasite. It's got this biofilm that makes it really resistant to a lot of the immune-based processes. So when they're multiplying and they've got multiple biofilms, it makes it even more challenging to kind of remove them. And like I've been kind of alluding to, is this can be one of the root causes that is holding you back from having your best health. So if you're, in a situation where you are getting good results, but then you've kind of plateaued and you don't really know why, this could be something that you want to look at a little bit more. Or let's say you've just other things in your gut and you haven't really been able to, get the result that you want to. addressing and figuring out if parasites are something in the body can be something that could be incredibly helpful and could just take you to that next level. So let's talk about the nutrient absorption process because it's a really integrative and beautiful process that our body does, almost without us thinking about it. So the digestive system converts the food that we eat into its most simplest form. And it does this by breaking down the foods, and then all of the broken down foods are then absorbed into our bloodstream from the small intestine, and then nutrients are carried to each one of the cells in our body. And we've got, trillions upon trillions of cells. So the fact that our body like has the ability to do this in almost an innate way is pretty incredible. But the thing to note here is that there are certain key essential nutrients for health, and many of you probably know what these essential nutrients are. There's things like protein, which helps us, build our tissues and our muscles. There's carbohydrates, which are our primary source of energy. There's fat, which is, mostly used for the essential of our cell structure and energy storage as well, too. There's vitamins and minerals, which are crucial for a lot of different biochemical processes as well, too. So the fact that our body's able to absorb these and, break things down into their individual components and then compartmentalize and send it to the needed, areas is so, so, so beautiful. The important thing about nutrient absorption is that, it helps us to create good cellular function. So the nutrients are enable the nutrients that we, break down and receive through our cells are help us to perform vital functions and maintain, just regular structure through the body. We can use the nutrient absorption through energy production. So ensuring that we have optimal energy levels. And, think about how many of you might have fatigue issues and things like that. That could just be like your body's not absorbing the appropriate nutrients that it needs to absorb to allow you to produce enough energy. And something that we've been talking about a lot is the immune system, and different nutrients play a role in immune function and also helping us to defend against different infections. So you're thinking like vitamin C, vitamin D, you got zinc, like all those beautiful things are really pulling together to help our immune system become its more resilient aspect so we can fight off those infections. So now that we understand the absorption process, let's now dive in and pull back parasites in here, and let's learn how they can affect our nutrient absorption. So when when a parasite comes into our body, what they do is they attach themselves to our intestinal lining. And, they like that area because it's like moist, it's warm, and they can grow and all the things. And I won't get too graphic there, but essentially they attach themselves to our gut lining. And what that can do is it can impact nutrient absorption and how much we're able to consume or anything like that. And what it does is it consumes and competes for the same nutrients as the host. So think about this, parasite attaching to your gut lining. And then what we'll talk about in a minute is that you're now competing for the nutrients that you're eating with the parasite. So the parasite obviously wants to grow big and strong so that the immune system can't fight it off. And you obviously want to receive those nutrients so that you can fight off you can use that for your immune system function. You can have enough energy. So now we've got this competition here, and it makes it really challenging for us to, do the normal day-to-day things. And that's when our body can start to break down essentially. So with this mechanism of interference from the parasite, now we're seeing a lot more structural damage because now the parasite has attached itself to our intestinal lining. And now what it's going to do is it's going to kind of eat away so it can like absorb any of the nutrients. And then it starts to basically make our intestinal lining almost so that there's little holes. And then when that happens, it creates this leaky gut syndrome, which many of you are probably familiar with that because it's a very big buzzword now in the gut health field. But with now this leaky gut and the intestinal permeability that's allowing for different undigested food particles to come in, it can allow for more parasites to come in as well too, because they can, they move around all throughout the body. It can allow for bacteria and yeast and things like that. And basically, that is where we start to see this like trifecta of multiple things happening. So, like, yes, your gut health, may be really strong and resilient, but if you're not also like taking care of the potential parasite, it's just going to keep going. It's just going to be a vicious cycle. The other mechanism of interference for parasites is that they inhibit different enzymes. So parasites produce their own enzymes, and what that does is it hinders the nutrient breakdown and absorption process that we need so that we can break it down for different nutrients for our different cells, like we talked about in the last slide. So again, you have to think like these parasites are going to use their own enzymes. They're going to create their own digestive juices because they want to be able to grow nice and strong and more resilient in our body, harboring more stress and things like that. The other mechanism for interference is immune response modulation. So parasites can manipulate the host's immune system response, affecting the nutrient absorption. So this is just like really pulling the knot all together. So, when we've got parasites and we're not able to receive those nutrients as efficiently, our immune system comes down and just becomes like more of a ripple effect in that way. So some of the consequences for, bad nutrient absorption is we could be malnourished, and not malnourished and like, looking a certain way or anything like that, but like we're not receiving the protein that we need, the sodium, the potassium, the calcium, the magnesium, all of the things. And, if you guys have gotten blood work done through us, you'll be able to see like how well you're actually absorbing a lot of those nutrients. And for many people, they're not. And that's why, they're coming and they're seeking help and things like that. You can see anemia as well, too, not just iron deficiency anemia. There's B12 deficiency anemia, and we need our B vitamins for energy and to help us make us more resilient in stress and things like that. And if we've got a lot of stress going on, those B vitamins aren't going to be as efficiently, produced too. And, just a little side note here as well, B vitamins are partially made in our gut lining. So think parasites attached to it. We're not going to be able to get a lot of those nutrients as efficiently as we would if it was not there. And then the other consequence is a weakened immune system, which I won't go too much into detail with that because we did talk a lot about that already. So, now, let's talk about some symptoms of parasite infections. Now, I've listed, some of the most common ones, but, there's so many more, honestly. And that's what can make this a little bit more confusing for a lot of people. But if you're like taking off a lot of these, it's likely that there is some sort of parasite infection. You could have some abdominal pain, some diarrhea, some nausea or vomiting, some gas or bloating. I'd say that's pretty big one for a lot of people. Some loose stools that may be containing blood. You could have some anal itching as well. I would say that's another like big one. If you've got this, then seek out next steps. Eczema, teeth grinding at night is another really big one too. The the thing about parasites as well is they're very active at night because we're kind of resting and we're kind of like just chilling and we're not doing a lot of absorption. So that's where they kind of like wake up and come alive. So teeth grating is a super big one. Brain fog, feeling tired, stomach pain or tenderness can be another one. If you pass warm in your stool, it's likely that you have some parasites as well. Receding gums, and I know some constipation is something that a lot of people also ask me about too, and constipation is a symptom as well too. So yeah, if you're checking off a few of these, I would just invite you to consider some next steps. So how would you know if you actually have parasites? So I wanted to make this really applicable to people, and a lot of people are getting their blood work tested, and I just wanted to provide some values for you so that at least you could kind of get a little bit of a picture. So if you've got a low MCV value, if you've got high monocytes, if you've got high eosinophils, and if you've got higher basophils as well too. Those are the four main like aspects and like markers on your blood work that you want to be aware of. And I would encourage you to work with a functional medicine practitioner or a naturopathic doctor to really understand what is high and what is low, because in the more conventional space, those numbers are going to be so much broader. So it would behoove you to, if you feel like you're not getting well and you're not getting your answers and things like that, get a second opinion and have someone else look at your blood work. And if these markers are high, it's likely that parasites are something that you want to eradicate as quickly as possible. The other thing that you can do if you're like suspicious of it and you want to make sure, because like I understand you don't want to like have to go through all of this to like potentially maybe not have one, you can consider stool testing. Stool testing is a way for us to help you understand what imbalances you might have and the parasites in your microbiome, but it also gives us countless other gut health markers that could be stealing our energy too. And particularly on the stool test that we like to run, we can look at your gut wall barrier so we can assess and see how strong that actually is. And then we can help you repair that, because not only do you want to kill the parasite through, rebalancing your microbiome, but and then also like killing it with, very specific herbs and then bringing your gut lining together. We want to make sure that they don't have the ability to come back into your body in the future. And, you know, it's not a guarantee, like, as far as like you'll never get a parasite ever again because they're so prevalent in our world, but at least you'll have the tools in your toolkit to be like, okay, I'm having these things, I'm feeling a little bit off. What should I do? I mean, some people actually do parasite protocol every year just as like sort of a maintenance type of thing. And it's just to help them continue to know that they're in really good health. So if you guys have any further questions about anything related to parasites or gut health or literally anything at all, please let me know. If you, like I said, if you are somebody that's like trying to find your way through this world and maybe you've got a lot of thyroid issues, or you've got, a lot of other issues, or you've been told that you had Lyme or something like that, like this could be the way to kind of like help you move yourself into a better direction. So if you're stuck, I would encourage you to reach out to me. I would encourage you to reach out to me on Practice Better, and we can set up some time to talk and really figure out what the next steps are. So that way you have all of the information. And, I really am super passionate about this because this is something that's, helped me get better. So don't hesitate to reach out with any questions at all. It was so great speaking with all of you today, and I hope you have a good rest of your day. Let me know if you need anything at all.